Oh man, here they come again.
Here they come again. This still has skin on the skull.
I want to get into Lucifer, Abaddon, as the Bible calls him as well, and how I think he ruled the earth. Even before he turned, I think he was given the keys.
So this was like his domain.
Absolutely.
So again, anybody who's listening that isn't familiar, Dr. Michael Heiser is somebody that I highly respect. And I was actually supposed to interview him for the show. And the week that I was supposed to interview him, I had gotten sick, and then he had gotten cancer, and he's passed away since. But I bring him up because a lot of the things that we're talking about, he has brought up and said. And what I forget where I was going to go with that. What did you just say? What were we just talking about? I can't remember.
Lucifer ruling old earth.
Yeah, it's gone now. So carry on. There was something I was going to say with that, and I just can't remember. But that's typical.
So Isaiah 14 is really where you get into the bulk of Lucifer, of Abaddon, and his time before he turned, and then kind of what happened when he did. And there's some really key parts of the text here where you're just like blown, where I'm like, it's right there. Old earth's right there again. So Isaiah 14:12, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Wait a minute. He's fallen from heaven. What are these nations? What are these nations, Tony, that are on the earth during this time? This is a period long before Adam, but there's nations on the earth. Isaiah 14:14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So this is a key text too, and I just want to throw this out there. People get this twisted. Lucifer never wanted to be God. He wanted to be like God. I don't think he ever had the delusion that he was ever going to beat God. I think he wanted to be like God. He wanted people to worship him like God. But again, who did he want to worship him? We weren't even close to being around.
Good point. Well, and I remember where I was going with that though, because you mentioned about Lucifer ruling the earth, and I mentioned about domains, and again going back to Psalm 82 and Heiser's teaching. It just says it in Psalm 82. God is talking to other God entities, and he said, "How long are you going to hold judgment? Or how long are you going to hold?" I forget, but he's talking about like these gods holding judgment unjustly. And so it's the idea that they had their own domains, it seems like they had their own domains that they were responsible for. Like God created these God entities to have jobs, and they weren't doing their job. So like the idea that Lucifer holding, court here, like this was his spot, this is where he kind of ruled and stuff. I don't think it's a foreign thing at all. And in my mind.
But I totally agree with you, Tony. And also when you think about it, I think, and I've said this before, I think Lucifer was not happy when he learned about us, right? So if that was part of the reason he fell, because he was jealous, because he knew that, hey, one day we're going to judge the angels. It's said in the text. So why wouldn't he, in his falling, create some sort of humanoids to rival God? What if that's part of it? What if they use some sort of DNA splicing? What if they were the catalyst of these humanoids that were created in that first earth, or whatever earth it was, but one before Adam? That's a thought as well that crossed my mind. I'm not saying that God didn't create them, but we don't know. And we know that they can create. Let's get that out there first. I hate when people are like, only God can create. Like, no, that's not true. Like, humans are creating in labs right now. We're all creating. Now, did God put the building blocks there for you already? Yeah, for sure. It's like a pack of Legos. They're just blocks, but I can create with them. Same thing with DNA. And I think that's kind of what could have happened. And I think it goes back to these Sumerian Ajiji. I think that was part of what they were trying to do, these Anunnaki, these fallen angels. which again, I'm getting off of this Anunnaki being the Nephilim, because that's something that I hear in these Nephilim circles a lot. And I just think that this Sumerian text was meant to be pre-Adamite, because it talks about the humans coming after the Ajiji. So that doesn't make sense in the timeline to me of how that works. Now, I do think there's some mixture of the text. And again, deception, you're going to see that happen, because they do talk about the flood with Gilgamesh being a part of this whole, being sort of like Noah, in that time period. Isaiah 14:15, yet you shall be brought down to Sheol. So God's talking to Lucifer. This is after he's wanted to be like him. Sheol, which, if you know anything about Sheol, that's the realm of the dead where Nephilim spirits roll through all the time and come out of, looking for host bodies. We won't get in that today. Meat sacks off the table today. To the lowest depths of the pit, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth tremble, that did shake the kingdoms? What were the kingdoms he was shaking? There were kingdoms during this time. I'm still blown away with the text. Like, it's literally telling you.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
There was something going on massively during this time period that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof.
What cities?
That opened not the house of his prisoners.
Huh.
What prisoners? He didn't go back to the Ajiji, ones that pissed him off. It even said the Ajiji pissed off these Anunnaki, these fallen angels. Were they prisoners? Were they the ones that were locked up that he was mad at? Yeah. What if he was mad at them? What if these were the humanoids? I think God's scope of forgiveness is so great that he, even if he didn't have a hand in these Ajiji per se, that he would offer forgiveness there. Think about if these Ajiji connected with Cain and created this line, right? And think about the Nephilim, the Raphaim, because we know that they intermingled in human bloodlines. We know they're in human bloodlines now. Nephilim bloodlines are all through human bloodlines. I think that's why Jesus came, because Jesus said he came to save everyone. Think about that. Think about that. That his scope of forgiveness is big enough to offer forgiveness for anyone. It's not your fault that fallen angels created you. You had no hand in that.
But okay, but along that line though, I mean, is there even a need for forgiveness for those created beings that he didn't create? Like, I mean, it like, I don't know. I mean, it's like my neighbor's kid. I'm like, it's not my kid. It's not my problem.
True. But just seeing the way that God's always worked, right? There's a text in the Book of Giants, which people attribute to the Book of Enoch a lot. It's the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
And these giants have these dreams, right? Gilgamesh is one of them, by the way. And they're having these nightmares. They know the earth's going to end. They know the flood's coming. And they go to one of their father's fallen angels. He didn't want to deal with them. So they're like, we need to talk to Enoch. Enoch's the holy one. They know. They get a hold of Enoch. Enoch comes to them with words from God. And do you know that he tells the giants that God says that they need to turn from their evil ways and repent? That's mind-blowing. Think about it. Like, think about that level. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, it really is, man, just that scope of we can't even grasp how God thinks at all.
Yeah.
We can't.
No. It's exactly what we've been talking about this whole time, is that as humans, we can't fathom the scope of what God is and the existence of God, his motives and everything
right
in it. And so it's like, I agree.
So we get back on Lucifer a little bit here, because it gets really good with him, man. And I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. So again, like when Abaddon was cast down, there were cities. Like Lucifer was the light bearer. And I think that he was the light that God put here originally. Ran the Garden of Eden, directed the earth. And I think it's before the Ajiji and all that, but I think that there were angel civilizations here. I think there was some on Mars. I think that he was his right hand. He was the cherub. He was the right hand of God. God literally created him to make music as he walked. And I think that in that arrogance, because he was so beautiful, that I want to be like God. I want these other angels to worship me. I'm next to God. I don't necessarily want to be you, but I want them to treat me like they treat you.
Yeah.
I think he had no delusions in beating God. He still doesn't. He's not going to beat God. He knows that. He's going to take down as many people as he can with him. But he's got no delusions. I never think he had delusions from the get-go. I don't think he wanted to be God. When we get that mixed up, I think he just wanted to be like God. Wanted people to treat him like God.
There's something identifiable in that, I think, too, because a lot of times people, they struggle with envy.
Mm-hmm.
And that envy in the root isn't the person that has the envy saying, I want to be so-and-so. It's usually, I want what so-and-so has.
Right.
I want that level of respect. I want that level of notoriety. I want these people to treat me like they treat them. The envy, because I want to be me. I don't want to be you. I want to be me. I just want everybody to treat me like they treat you.
Right.
It's interesting. Yep.
So in Ezekiel 28:16, and I like to read this from the CEV, the Contemporary English Version. It fleshes that out a little bit better, I think, than the King James, even though the King James does speak to this as well. But it says, you traded with other nations and became more and more cruel and evil. So I forced you to leave my mountain, and the creature that had been your protector now chased you away from the jewels. He's trading merchandise with other people. Jesus calls him a thief. So what was he doing? What was he scandalously doing with other nations? And this is pre-Adamic times. We're talking about times before Adam, nations, civilizations. Apparently, he was a master trader. Dealt with a lot of merchandise. I mean, his whole body was jewels. We know that. So I'm sure he had some sort of proclivity to nice things.
I'd say so. Man, I keep coming back to thinking, what happened? I know you said we're going to get to it, but man,
yeah. And here's the thing. He says, your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. There's the envy you were talking about.
Yeah.
You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground and laid you before kings that they may gaze at you. Who are these kings? Who is he laying Lucifer down at the feet of to show as an example? Who? It's right there.
Yeah. That's it. And that's the thing. It's when you're dissecting it like this and you're reading it for what it says, it is right there. The question is, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, but I mean, we can venture into, hypothesizing, but who were these other beings and how long were they around, and were they the first, or was there a whole other, world before that one? It's at what point do you actually get answers, of what this was all about?
And I think that we can.
And are we meant to have those answers?
I think the Bible is meant to give us a tool for connecting with our fellow man and a guidebook. I think there's so much truth in it that maybe we won't understand fully. And especially when we're talking about the Hebrew translations, I think maybe the Hebrews, I mean, obviously you start going back, I mean, they understood way more than we did what happened and what's going on. And here's a really wild concept too. We're talking about, craters in the earth and how the earth's off its axis. It says that in Luke 10:18, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning falling from heaven. Well, what would happen to the Earth if Lucifer hit the Earth at lightning speed? Something like that. Might knock the Earth off its axis. I'm not saying that was the catalyst, but it could have done something to the Earth at that point too. Could have caused some sort of disruption. I mean, it's just an idea, right? Like we're searching for the truth. We can take from the text, we can take from other cultures, and we can try to piece this together. Because one thing I do know is that there's been a battle waging for a long time over eons of time, not just this little scope from Adam to us. It's been going on for a long time. And guess what? There was eons before that where everything was all right. Lucifer was just chilling. Everything was cool. Kosher, copacetic. We don't know what life was like then either. We don't even know it existed during that time. I think Bigfoot's been around for all of it. I think literally, like, they've just been around forever. You know, like the old cryptid. Nobody even talks about them anymore either, man. Everybody's all about Dogman and stuff now. I think Bigfoot's just like Bigfoot, whatever, man. And they're like, man, we've seen it all.